It's late July, and I know folks are getting hangry for another batch of the delicious Meshlicious case to hit the shelves. So let's just do a quick update, talk components, and what you'll need to get this puppy built. Oh, and we're giving away a case. Welcome to Machines and More. I've done a few deep dives into the case, so let's get ready for you guys to build now. I'll focus on components for a reasonable gaming build today, since I anticipate a lot of you are going to be building it up for that specific purpose, and then we'll go ahead and wrap up with that case giveaway, okay? So, all right, component number one, the power supply. You can run ATX, SFXL, and SFX units, and there are a ton of choices, right? Since that's pretty much saying any power supply fits in this case, and you can make the most out of any unit. But I'm going to hone in on one singular recommendation here, and those are going to be the SFX units from Corsair, which come in 450, 600, or 750 watts in a Platinum version. And even though the 750 Platinum is capable to deliver more than 750 watts, I won't go ahead and recommend exceeding the manufacturer's spec. But for most builds now, either the SF600 or SF750 will meet those power needs, and just pick based on your GPU's draw. Now, SFX will give you the most flexibility for SSD placement and cable management in this 14.7 liter case. And I would recommend heartily the Platinum versions of these power supplies, because they come with a set of black mesh cables. And since cables are going to be pretty exposed in this case and difficult to conceal, you're going to want nice looking ones. So even though the Platinum units will set you back a little bit more to begin with, a set of right size mesh cables could easily run you at least $40 US. And as far as I know, no other brand is including nice looking cables with their SFX PSU right now. So that's why that Platinum is my recommendation. Now you can do extensions in the case like I've shown in a different build, but I would just go for the full PSU cables. All right, for the CPU, there are two CPUs that are worth their silicon that I would consider for a gaming build right now, and that's the $300 Ryzen 5 5600X or the $200 11400 from Intel. Now the i5 11400 with integrated graphics for $200 is the much better value here, especially if you're frame rate limited by your GPU anyway. And the reason I'd go for the 5600X would be if you want that multi-threaded performance, for which it's very close to the 8-core Zen 2 Ryzen 7 3700X. Otherwise, you're not going to see much difference for gaming, and as much as I like Zen 3, I'd say for a gaming build, go ahead and save your money. Plop that on a better graphics card if you have a choice. I realize there's the non-integrated graphics SKU, the 11400F, which will save you about 20 bucks, but I recommend spending the extra $20 for the integrated graphics version for a very specific reason, and that's because the Meshlicious uses a riser cable. And if you ever have issues with the riser cable, whether that's the PCIe 3.0 or the 4.0 version, that $20 will be money very well spent, as opposed to tearing your build apart and also your hair out when debugging that riser cable. For the 11400, it's not picky. I would wholeheartedly recommend not getting a Z590 board. B560 is pretty much where it's at right now, and if I were looking to build with this chip, I'd go for the combination of looks, and for inexpensive price, I'd go for the roughly $160, $170 MSI B560 Edge ITX if it's available. And this one will work very well with this case. It's got two M.2 slots, a front USB-C header that will connect to the front I/O of the Meshlicious. Fan headers are all along the top of the motherboards, and you'll appreciate that since it's very easy to access at the top of the case. For the 5600X, I've reviewed a few B550 ITX boards, and each have their pluses and minuses, but the one that would get my nod for this case is actually the Asus one that I've been building with. It uses a stock AM4 backplate for max compatibility, USB-C front header that integrate with the case nicely, and even though the power delivery is nothing to write home about. It's perfectly fine for a 6-core Ryzen chip. And the placement of the fan headers, the RGB headers are all along the top, so it's very convenient for building with in this case. RAM for a gaming build, there are a ton of choices, but 16 gigs, 3200 megahertz CL16 is what I would go with for either CPU, and that really will handle most titles just fine for now. And B560 does allow for the XMP profile, so that's totally fine with that chip now. I'd pick based on appearance and the price, but Corsair and Crucial are my two go-tos typically. Storage, 1 or 2 M.2s. I would tend to recommend one big one for this case. I think 1 terabyte is a really good place to start. The reason being that if your board has the second slot at the back of your motherboard, it's going to get really toasty being in such close proximity to the GPU for a gaming build, especially if you have one of those flow-through coolers that are very popular with the latest GPUs. Now, if you have a board that has 2 on the top of the board, like I have here, this is the Z490 Asus board, I think any configuration is fine. 2 500 gig drives is practically the same price as 1 terabyte these days, so the single one would still get my nod. That way you have an extra slot available if you need to expand in the future. Now, graphics card availability is getting better at this point. It is still going to come down to what you can find in stock, but I think the ideal choices for this case, based on their heat level and also their performance, they're going to be the 3060 Ti or the 3070, especially since these are the 2 Ampere chips that you do have a few versions that come in a 2-slot thickness, and being able to shift that card out to the outer edge of the case will help a lot with thermals, and also helps give the back of your motherboard a bit of breathing room too, and you can only do that with a 2-slot card. Now, optimally, a card that has heat fins running along the width will work best with the airflow in this case, but I tested with the 3070 Founders Edition card and was able to get decent performance as well. But something like EVGA's 3060 Ti XC would be highly recommended for this case. Now, cooling wise, the 240 AO would be adequate for either chip. There's one thing to keep in mind, that for a gaming build, your GPU is going to be the far bigger source of heat. In this case, tends to run best when the front fans are exhausting. So the radiator is your point of exit for the GPU exhaust. So having the extra headroom in the 240 ensures that your CPU thermals won't be drastically impacted by that. There are a ton of units that can work well, but the one I really like right now is the Cooler Master ML240 Illusion. It's really nice looking and comes with decent performing fans right out of the box, and that will make for a really fun build in this case. It comes in a white version, which would be stunning with the white version of this case. Now, getting the 240 AIO also means you don't have to pony up for additional case fans in your build, and while we've covered a few decent air cooling options thus far that would work for either of these chips, a liquid AIO would be my recommendation here. Plus, you can also cover a CPU upgrade to a higher core count chip if you do go that route in the future. If you're not going for the Cooler Master unit, just make sure you get a unit that has 90-degree bends that are flexible at the pump head. That will make running your tubing a lot cleaner in this case. All right, so we've covered the main components, and if I were building in this case, I would budget around $1,450 to $1,500 US for parts to build it up properly. Now, I know it's not a trivial amount, but I think that's what it's going to take to get into a good place for a gaming build nowadays. And that will handle pretty much most 1440p titles and even some light 4K. If you're feeling lucky though, SUP was very kind in sponsoring a case giveaway for our channel. We're giving away a black full mesh PCIe 3.0 version, and just to say thanks for your support and your viewership, it's really simple to enter. Just use the gleam.io link that I'll put down in the description. The giveaway will open when this video is launched, and I don't want you guys to wait too long, so we'll just keep it open for a week until midnight US Pacific time on August 6th, 2021. So we'll have a winner very soon. You can get an extra entry if you let me know how you're going to cool the case, but yeah, go ahead and enter. It's a random draw, and I will announce the winner in our community tab for the channel. Of course, due to YouTube rules, I can't ask you to subscribe to enter the giveaway, but hey, you're here already, and if you like the content and you haven't already, I'd appreciate if you would please subscribe. And I will also leave product links down below for the items discussed today for the build. Good luck, and thanks for watching today.